Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome, everybody. It's so great to see this many people here for this meeting. We have just a little bit of business to take care of first thing this morning. The first is the approval of the minutes. Board members, you should have your packets. Do I have a motion to approve?
So motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor, board, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Stacy, you want to do the treasurer's report?
Yes. So all the board members should have their budget report, their package. It's in June, so we are at 97% of our budget, where we need to be. Are there any questions?
The last thing that I will do before we get Deborah up here and have her give her report is introduce our new employee, who is holding a camera pointed at me. Allow me to introduce Randy Canal, who is our communications specialist.
Morning.
Randy,
Morning.
welcome. Very glad to have you. This is where you should applaud. Okay, Deborah.
Well, as part of my part of this meeting, let me say that I am really pleased to tell you that the EDC is fully staffed once again. And at our next meeting, you will be introduced to our new admin specialist. Her name is Jessica Wilson, and she's still working notice out at Caldwell Memorial. And so we have stolen her from there. And we're really, really pleased to have these two individuals on our staff. And so now you all can stop. You won't hear any more excuses from me about why I can't do everything as fast as I need to. These guys are great, and I'm really, really pleased to have them be on board. This morning, we want to talk just a little bit before we have a special presentation. We talk a lot about return on investment. Everybody does. If you don't have a measurable return on investment, you don't live to see the next day in that particular world, do you, gentlemen? With this investment, I'm sure that you know that. We talk a lot about it at the EDC. The measurable parts are tax base increase and job growth, the lowering of unemployment, and the increase of wages. I can talk about that all day long. But if the needle doesn't move according to the public, it almost doesn't matter. And so we've talked about economic development being that battleship that it's very, very difficult to turn, and it takes forever, and you don't notice the motion of it while it's taking place. But this morning's meeting is a perfect example of what a return on investment actually is. Now, I want to recap. Yes, we have had tax base increase. And commercial property in the last 4 years in Caldwell has grown by almost 21%, which is terrific. But I can show you that slide, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the general public is feeling it just yet, because everything has to trickle down. That is a result of some of that trickling down. And because this trend has begun, I think you can expect more of it, provided that the national economy doesn't rock our world. And because we have diversified our economy, the national economy will never rock our world as badly as it did in the last recession. Industrial property has grown even more, 32.3% growth. This is what's been added to the tax base. And in a 4-year period of time, that's what has happened with new private investment in Caldwell County. Again, I could show these slides, and John Q. Public sitting out on the street is probably still saying, so what, based on that. But this is where John Q. Public starts to see things, and this is Caldwell County's average private sector wages since 2015 to 2019. Now, it was announced in 2019. These are all January of each year's numbers. So you can see that we have had steady growth. Now John Q. Public is starting to feel the effects of what has been going on with the economic development in our county. And this is my favorite slide, and I know many of you have seen it, but it bears repetition often. We compare ourselves, not just John Q. Public to himself last year and the year before, but we compare ourselves to the counties around us. And oftentimes you'll hear people say, oh, they have this in another county, oh, they have that. It's so much better. I heard one of our senior county employees say recently, talking about how jobs don't pay as well here as other places. It was a great entree for me to be able to say, let me show you something. This is according to the Department of Commerce's Labor and Economic Analysis Division. Caldwell's grown its average private sector wage 21.7% the last 4 years. That amount on each wage is almost $7,000. But if you look at Burke, that same period, theirs has grown $2,800. And if you look at Catawba, theirs is $5,322. So we're outpacing many of the counties around us in terms of private sector wages. We haven't quite caught up, you can see, we have not quite caught up to Catawba, but they're a whole lot bigger than we are. And they have a lot more of variety, and they have more corporate headquarters and that types of things, which does change things. But I will tell you that the diversification of Caldwell's industries is what is responsible for that. Those of you who are in industry and try to hire people, as I've been trying to do for the last couple of months, know how hard it is to find folks because we're at full employment. But the other part is wages have become so competitive. We're back to the place where good people can go across the street and do a little bit better. And we're now finally seeing some upward trajectory on personal incomes, which is great. So, how do you see the needle move besides that? If it's not in your pocketbook, and we are starting to see that, how is it? And it's just so appropriate. Many of you I see in this audience were here with us earlier in the week. You see it at things like this. This was our ribbon cutting at the Hampton Inn this past week, so I'm going to make you look at these great pictures of all the folks who were there, because this is what it looks like when the needle moves. And it's amazing who they let come to these events, isn't it? This is what I call the potentate picture. And then that's the Hampton Inn staff excited to be here. Hampton Inn is already setting records and already doing well. That's one of the things you'll notice. We get these new folks in our communities, and they exceed corporate expectations. Why? Well, because we've been saying we need, but just because we need or we want doesn't mean we can support. We're supporting this very well. Here's the ribbon cutting. We're very glad to have Paul Broyhill here for that, and I think he enjoyed it more than anybody. And then they toured, and so I know that some of you haven't been there, so I thought I would include these pictures. This is the weight room there in the Hampton Inn. This is one of the rooms. I should have photoshopped this picture out and put what it looked like Sunday through that window out on the golf course there in Lower Creek, because it was a nice brown color on that day. And then they did a nice spread. It's just a great facility. These are the owners, Sid and Arvind Maheshwari. That's our Virginia Annabelle, the News Topic reporter, interviewing them there. And then there's this. I haven't seen this picture before. Where's Brian? Brian make it here? No. So we decided we wanted to have a groundbreaking ceremony, and we asked the Starbucks people if we could, and they said, we've already started. So they didn't, they wanted to go. So we said, well, we cannot go unnoticed and uncommemorated. So we ran out there and did our own thing, and there you see the groundbreaking. You got to celebrate these moments, and so that's what we did. So here's the rendering of what this project is going to look like. Not too shabby for Caldwell County. So I go back to this. we often, when I got into this job, they had a list, as long as my arm up. When are we going to get, when are we going to get, when are we going to get? And we can only get what we support. We can desire a lot, but we can only get what we can support. But when I go back to where's the return on the investment, these things are the return on the investment, because as things get better and our economy gets healthier, these are the kinds of things that then come into play, not because we've asked them to be here, because Lord knows we were asking for a long time, but they come when we are able to support them. When the rooftops are here, that can support them. When the incomes are beneath them, that can support them. And yes, the next phase of all of this, you know I'm going to say it, is housing. And we are working on that. I will say at this point in time, we're getting the last portions of the housing study next week for the first phase. And so we'll be getting back to you with a report on that, because that information is the information that makes the financial case for residential development, particularly multifamily in Caldwell County. So the next part, you know, if we can, all these things are now in our rearview mirror, which is kind of exciting to say, but did you ever think that we would say, oh yeah, we got a Starbucks, we got a Chick-fil-A, we got a theater, we got a new hotel. And so now this morning I want to introduce to you Brett Waters, because he's going to tell you about our newest proof of new private investment in Caldwell County, and this moves the needle that much further. So Brett, come on up.
All right.
And I'm going to let you turn this over to you, and you can introduce your folks. Thank you, sir.
How are we,
This right here, and then when you want to use the little red button,
who's the kid?
well, you're going backwards. Yeah, go ahead. There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Morning, everybody. Good morning.
Morning.
We appreciate y'all having us here. We're really excited about this is our first unfolding of the new plan, and we've worked hard for the last, I think we got this approved. Jim, when did we get our ceiling approved?
Probably October, November.
And since that time, we've worked on our building plans, and we have closed on the land. And everybody's like, where have you been? You've got, and so it's amazing how long these things take, but we have literally been working diligently to move this project forward. And so kick it off a little bit. The developers are myself, Jim Martin, and Hamilton Ward, who, by the way, this morning got a new title in our organization. We're going to call him, he's going to be the KOB, a keeper of the boards. We were like, where are the boards? And he's like, I've got them. And we're like, oh my God, this is what we used down in Granite Falls when we went for the rezoning. So that was great. And the management company that will oversee and handle the operations is Tulloch Management, and that's Mr. Martin. So you might want to tell a little bit about Tulloch and your experience.
Okay. I'm Jim Martin. I'm a Morganton boy. Went to Freedom High School, came here, worked at 206 Mulberry Street, CPA with Jaggers and Company. Then we merged in with Deloitte and Touche, but I started my career out here. Lenore, Alderton, Bernhardt, Fairfield Chair, Grand Manor. So I've been exposed to Caldwell County quite a bit. Then went to Hickory, to Lenore Ryan, came back, lived in Hickory ever since. I own Tulloch Management Company. My career's kind of gone up through. I worked for a gentleman named Don Beaver. I'm sure everybody in here's probably heard that name. I was a VP of Finance for Bryan Center for many, many years, and as we sold to a company in Houston, Texas, I migrated into my own company with my partner, Dan Tulloch. We've been in operations for not quite 40 years, but I thank Brett for putting that on there. But it's been, actually, I think it's been 36 years. And
Pretty good.
we own, operate, manage nursing homes and assisted livings over the years. We've probably been affiliated with some 25 properties. Currently today, we've got 3 nursing homes, and this will be our 3rd assisted living from Asheville to Fayetteville, and all points in between. Have operated in other states, Tennessee and South Carolina, but currently today, only in North Carolina. We are so excited to be a part of this. I also am the chairman of the board for the North Carolina Healthcare Facility Association, It's a trade organization for all 440 nursing homes in the state of North Carolina. I've been on that board for about 16 years. I'm also appointed by the governor of the State Health Coordinating Commission, which regulates the growth of hospitals, nursing homes, assisted livings, dialysis clinics, and so forth. So I've got an extensive background in this business. I pride myself in what I do. We try to operate the utmost in care standards for facilities. So many times in our business, it focuses on how new is the building, what are the conditions of it, but the main thing that goes on in our industry is we're the second most regulated industry in the nation of the nuclear power. The regulatory environment to operate nursing homes and assisted livings is so extensive, it is so complicated, and you can get so caught up in that, and that's how we got into this business at this piece of property. As Brett was hawking it, and the facility in the middle of town had some real care issues and was on a fast track to be shut down by the association. We got involved. Brett did the deal, and here we are today. But thank you so much for having us. We look forward to this. I hope over time, I hope that you have parents, brothers, sisters that are in our building. I hope that we can provide the utmost in care for Caldwell County. We will be so happy to have a groundbreaking. I cannot wait till we got our first admission, because to all the Deborah points, that is when the needle starts to move. When we start to get admissions and we start to fill up and we start to get that anchor, those are the important things. And again, thank y'all for having us. Hamilton?
Like I said, I'm as excited as they are. I'm Hamilton Ward, grew up in Hudson, lived in Hickory all my adult life, and like I said, about 2 years ago when Brett and I became involved on finding this piece of property and the facility, and as I said, I have family members and people that work in the industry, and we're just, can't tell you how excited we are about the project.
So we'd love to show it to you. How about that? So where we are anyway today. And so this is a rendering of what we expect the front of the assisted living to look like. And I don't, so I guess maybe that would be in the middle there, the board. This is the assisted living and memory care. We assume maybe most everyone knows what the services are, but we were trying to, it took a little bit of time on our project and our redevelopment. I think we take a lot of pride in this. We really want to do something state-of-the-art for this community. And there hasn't been a new facility built here in over 20 years. And so there's, most of the buildings that have been built were built as semi-private. Now some of the folks, they convert those semi-privates to private rooms, but then they a lot of times share bathrooms. That's not where the market is today. People want their own rooms. I had a friend in the business like Jim for 30, 40 years, and he told me, you know, Brett, I've been in this business 40 years. He was an operations guy, really good. And he said, after 40 years of dealing with seniors, I can't tell you what they want. But the one thing I can tell you they don't want is a roommate. So I always remember that. So we really worked hard. So of course the building has gone from the original 45,000 now to 57,000 square feet to try to get more private rooms. And then we worked really hard to get a memory care unit that didn't have dead-end hallways. And you'll see that talked about up there a little bit. And you can see what it's got this square design to allow residents to continue, a lot of memory care residents like to walk. And so even in bad weather, you know, at all times this is all enclosed, always. And then what that allowed to do also that's really unique is it gives us an interior courtyard for the residents. So it's very safe, and it's going to be beautiful, and it's going to get light into the hallways, natural light, and we're going to have a covered patio that even when the weather's bad, you can sit out, be outside, and things like that. So we've worked really hard on this design. We're really proud of it, and I think we've about driven our architect crazy, but we're about there. So it's got 20 private rooms in here, 2 semi-privates. It's got a beautiful dining room that'll look over this property. This property is down off of Riverbend Road, behind the Walmart Shopping Center there in Granite, as you're going down to the Riverbend waterfront community. And it's right before you get there. So this property is the old Watson property, 62 acres. And so it's beautiful back in here. There's some rolling hills and trees and deer, and some of the neighbors called and said, can we still hunt the property? I said, well, until we build it, start working on it. Yeah, so they bow hunt back in in there and stuff. So we're hoping to get, the animals will still come out and our residents will be able to have meals, and I'm sure they'll be excited to enjoy that. In terms of some of the other features out of it, we've got a private room, quiet room in the memory care unit. We've got spa, bathing, really nice spa area. Obviously going to have lots of activities and dedicated staff for that. Get to the assisted living. We've got 54 beds. It's going to be 44 rooms, so obviously the vast majority are going to be private rooms. We've got some private suites that have bedroom, living room, kitchenette. So we've got beautiful dining room, fireplace, outdoor views, fitness gym, on-site, we've got rehabilitation, got to have a cafe, post office. I'm sure there's 5 things I left off of that list, but anyway, feel free to jump in and ask any questions as we kind of go along. But anyway, here's the design of it, which that's the front entrance, obviously. So here's the rooms, which are down here. I know that's hard for everybody to see, but there's 6 selections of rooms choices for residents. And this is the civil plan. Kind of shows you how it's going to lay out along the road. And see if this thing works. Can't get it to work. Parking lot, access and everything. So in terms of the overall project, we've got 62 acres of property. It's in a watershed. So we've worked a lot with the city of Granite Falls. We want to thank the mayor. We want to thank Jerry, and we want to thank Greg Wilson, who has been they've just been a pleasure to work with. And also on the rezoning, they've been great. But anyway, the overall plan, we're here. This is phase 1. This is where we're going to start. We're optimistic it's going to be very successful. And then we're going to move up here, and these are independent apartments, and then patio homes that we'll build up there to make it basically a full-scale retirement home and center, and we'll add additional amenities to be up here. We'll probably have a nice bar. Jimmy may talk about some of the things we've incorporated in the independent area.
What's the census on that as far as numbers in that second phase?
Well, I think it lays out. We haven't totally gotten there in terms of whether we're going to do duplexes, single patio homes, the lot lines. We haven't gotten that far working with the city of Granite on what they'll allow us to do on this and what the market wants. But we think it'll accommodate between about 40 and 60 patio homes, and then we believe that these buildings will probably be close to 70 units each, so we could have between 70 to maybe 140 apartments. And so in terms of, but again, there'll be a dining, there'll be other amenities up here. Could be we're just really going to seek input, look at, we go around, we use Robert Baker, who's, let me see if I get the name right. He started a new company a little while back, Caring Transitions, and he's been a real help for us on marketing and what the marketplace is and what other communities have, retirement communities have to offer. So we're trying to really investigate all that and pull it together to give Caldwell County the best of the best for this project.
Operating assisted living, as we begin to get families in and we begin to develop a rapport with folks in the community, we'll get a feel for what the community's looking for as we get into this development of independent living. And we'll get a feel for the type services, where you're at on the price point scale, from the basics to the very, very high-end places that Brett and I visited in Charlotte and Raleigh. I don't think that market will be what we'll be looking for here. But we'll be looking for self-sustained, independent living with gated access. Doors will shut at 7 o'clock at night and reopen at 7 o'clock in the morning. The typical clientele that we'll see in that will typically be your 75-year or older female. I mean, at the end of the day, women outlive men. It's just a fact of life. And 90% of your population will tend to be widows that have survived their husband. They want to downsize. They want to keep up with maintenance of the yard and all the kind of things that go with that. And they want to get in this secure building. One of the things that we'll all find out as we have with our parents, the thing that is most important to the elderly as they age is safety. They want to feel safe, and they want to make sure that they feel safe, particularly if you're a single widowed lady. My mom's 90 years old. I know how important it is to her for safety since my dad passed away 11 years ago. So we'll really be focused on that. We'll be focused on the amenities of the programs. We'll have a high-end menu. We'll have chances for folks to develop different food plans, whether they want 3 meals a day or 1 meal a day, a continental breakfast or a dinner at night. But as we get into this, and I tell you, whether it's this building or this building, the one thing everybody will have an opinion on will be food. And that will be the one thing that we will be trying our darndest to make sure that we deliver with the utmost of efficiency and culinary delight. I take great pride in that.
Yeah, and what you often see, and I think Jim and Robert can speak to it, you often see that single females tend to want to be in apartments, and you'll see couples that will tend to enjoy wanting the patio homes, I think.
These will be people that will still be driving. They'll be coming in and out of the day. We'll be having everything. The ladies will have knitting class. They'll have bridge class. The guys will want to play chess. We'll be thinking maybe if we can, Brett and I have talked about it, maybe some walking trails. We might even try to throw in a putting green, maybe a couple little par 3 holes. But we know that that's a big selling point for men as they go, because the 10% of the men that'll be here kind of feel left out, and they feel like it's always catered to the females. So we'll be trying to avoid making that to be an issue. We'd love to have as many questions as we get from y'all.
The first building, the memory care, that will be a lockdown facility?
Yes, it will.
The secure unit. I mean, lockdown, you know, that kind of term in it.
I'm in the judicial branch.
But it will be secure from the rest of the assisted living beds. It'll have its own staff, its own activity design, its own dining area. But yes, that population of the building, for those of you that have had Alzheimer's touch your life some way, somehow, those folks have a special set of needs. For the most part, you find very healthy people, but their minds have retreated on them to some degree, and they have trouble remembering. They have trouble as they walk around, staying focused, and we have gone to undue lengths to have a very unique design. I've not seen one like it, and we're really hoping to do some really kind of neat things. There'll be no dead ends in that section of the building. There'll be a continuous, we're going to try to work with local folks. We'll be wanting some murals on the wall. The memory care folks really enjoy that kind of stuff. Anything that we can get, any kind of things that would remind them of the area, we'll be really focused on that type of stuff inside the memory care unit.
In phase 1, what are you anticipating staffing?
In terms of number of folks?
Yeah, and types of jobs, like nurse aides, registered nurses.
Typically, in an assisted living nursing home, for every bed, you're going to have a full-time staffing person. So we've got 78 beds. I'll tell you, my guess is minimum 75 full-time people. We'll have part-time people to work out how you do weekends to covering 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. For the most part, the jobs will be CNAs. Our direct caregivers will also have dietary, we'll have laundry, we'll have housekeeping, we'll have administrative staff, we'll need an office manager. Most importantly, we'll need an administrator. We'll have an administrator. I always tell the administrator who will be the CEO of the building. You will be our representation. You will be our face to the community. You'll be a member of the Chamber of Commerce. You'll field any public events, any groundbreakings, anything such as that. But should have 75 full-time people.
No, and there's staffing that our goal will be to exceed the staffing, but there's staffing requirements in the state. And memory care staffing is, it's more, memory care units are more expensive, and the reason is there's requirements for more staff. They just require more attention so, anyway, that's kind of statement. We've got some numbers in the very back to talk about with the economic impact, because I know that's what, you know, you guys are on board and interested in, how's it gonna impact the county. Here's a rendering, and obviously we've got a long way to go, before we get to the departments, but this is, our first vision of how the departments would go. You know, we have a architectural theme that we kind of run from the assisted living memory care up into our apartments, and then as you were asking about here, this is our current projections. We currently have the assisted living memory care out for bids with 3 selected contractors that have very significant amount of experience building these type of projects and working with our architect. We estimate, prior to getting your quotes, that the project for the assisted living and memory care will have about $12 million invested in that project. In phase 1, and it will, Jim said 60 FTEs. I did this, and we were putting this together. I probably did that, and I probably missed that, obviously. So maybe it's closer to 80, but good thing is that just means that number's higher, not lower. And then we, as Jim mentioned, they operate a number of assisted living, one of them which I'm a part of with Jim and we pulled these numbers up directly off theirs and kind of with the size of the building, have estimated these. Electricity, I also had something in there for gas, but I ran out of space on the chart, so there's other utilities, and then the water, and then of course the property tax. There you can see we would have about 125 for the city and county. We expect all goes well. So the state gets involved. The state's going to review our plans. We've submitted this plan to the state for review. It'll probably take 6 weeks. Then we're going to get the contractors. We'll do some value engineering. We'll look at some other things. And there's some things we'd like to do. We're going to investigate, for example, maybe using some artificial turf versus, you know, just keep it green, stay pretty all year. If we can afford it, you know, it's all about trying to make the budget work. So we got to make sure that we can pull all that together. And Deborah's going to help us with the grant, so that's going to help. Phase 2. So we would start, if all this goes well, we'll start breaking ground around October 1st. We think it'll take us about, Jim?
It's gonna take us right out of a year to build it.
Yeah, and then once it's complete, you gotta pull out of the state to come review, and then they give you stuff you've missed, and then it's gonna be probably another 60 days before we'll get a CO by the time all that works itself out. So to be safe, we're estimating about April 1st of 21, when we'll be taking the first visit. All that goes well, it'll take probably, how long to fill up, Jim?
Boy, I'd love to tell you it's gonna take 90 days.
We need your help.
But we, in our budgets that we submitted to the CON section of the state, as we were transferring the license from the facility we bought in town, in our budget, I think we've got a 1-year fill up, and that's certainly what we'll be striving to do. We'll be striving to beat those numbers.
Yeah, so assuming that that goes as planned, or exceeds plan, as Deborah said, a lot of people have very good success here in this community, exceeding plan, which would be nice. And if that is the case, that will certainly ramp up when we can get started on phase 2. So phase 2 again is, I put 100-unit apartment. Again, we've got 70 planned. We've got 250 units, but about 100 to 140 units is where we'd like to be. Depending on need, it's about a $24 million investment. Additional FTEs, and you can see that we would start out based on that schedule. Construction would start in 23, finish in 24, and then we get to the phase 3 of the patio homes, which again, that may actually come along faster. I would basically, I think that what we'll do is when we're doing that, we may go ahead and put in the infrastructure along with this. But so these two are really linked, I think. So again, those numbers are very fluid in terms of projected start dates. But and then this phase 4 is would be ideal, and we're always open to any opportunity. Right, Jim can talk about the difficulty of getting a CON for skilled nursing, but we'll be looking for anyone that might want to sell beds, or if there's a need for this county, we would certainly make an application, because then we would have a full spectrum of services for a continuing care community to be able to serve the needs of the residents. But the bottom line is, if we, you know, it's a $50 million project through phase 3. It'd be $60 million with, if we are successful finding a skilled CON. And we'll have probably somewhere between 165 to 200 FTEs and $635,000 in annual taxes. So we'll be paying. Any questions?
Hey, Jim, I'd like to ask, why is it so difficult to be able to get permission to build facilities like this? What is the impediment to that at the state level?
You mean the impediment to constructing a facility?
Or to being able to get permission to be able to have a new facility in like Caldwell County? What's the impediment?
It all starts with what's called the certificate of need, the acronym CON. All of hospitals, nursing homes, assisted livings are all regulated by that. I mentioned I serve on that committee. We just passed along, we just had our final plan for 2022. We just submitted it to the governor last Wednesday. We'll be doing a road show over 5 different areas in the state, from Wilmington to Asheville, and for Caldwell County, the area will be Asheville. There's no nursing home beds on the horizon for the state of North Carolina through 2022. There are very, very few assisted living. So until you can get that CON, you can't build an assisted living or a nursing home. And that is why we purchased the rights to the facility that operated in the old hospital building. And then we used that, and we filed what's called a non-competitive CON because we had bought the beds. We then made the submission to the CON section in North Carolina, and we had to move the beds within the county. You can't take those beds and move them to another county. So we had to move those beds within this county, and we picked the site. I mean, Brett worked his tail off looking sites, running down different land deals for us, and we think that we've culminated with a wonderful site. But those are the impediments. I mean, you have to have permission from the state. The state does all this data calculation about the over 65 age population, and then through that, it's just a statistical equation that they come up, and that's obviously impacted as populations move from one county to another county, and that need changes. And so that's why sometimes there are beds put in a county that somebody might go, well, why are there beds in that county? Because population is going up in that county, it's not going on this neighboring county. But again, CON, Certificate of Need, regulates all the growth of beds for hospitals, nursing homes, and assisted living, and that's the impediment to getting in this business.
And you may ask, I mean, not to get onto the industry story, you know, but North Carolina is one of the few states that offers state assistance to assisted living, and the state uses the Certificate of Need to control their budget, right? Because a lot of residents that are in skilled nursing facilities, I mean, Jim can talk to that, the vast majority of revenue that supports those facilities comes from Medicaid and Medicare, probably 70%. So the state is very attentive to the amount of facilities and that are out there and to their budget.
The state, the Medicaid program, would much rather have 2 facilities operating at 95% capacity than 3 facilities operating at 60% capacity. That's just a much better use of money in tax dollars than to fund the Medicaid program. Medicaid program for North Carolina is $15 billion a year budget. The nursing home side of that is just a little bit north of $1 billion a year, the Medicaid program in North Carolina.
Yeah.
In the selection of the name Grace Village, do you worry about confusion with Grace Ridge, Grace Hospital, the Grace of God, other things?
Well, I say, you know, Deborah's has been, we bounced some things over. We came up with the name, I tell you, one time we were looking at the property on Grace Chapel Road, okay, right there. And we thought, well, that's got a nice name, and my grandmother's name was Grace, and so it's got kind of a place in my heart. And then we ended up on the property at Riverbend, and we think that, while we're not affiliated with them, they've got a good reputation in Morganton, so we weren't shying away or scared of the name. So we're sticking with it. We're sticking with it for now. Okay?
The Morganton boy in me will tell you, I understand your question, but the wonderful thing about this for me in Hamilton is really the name came about because Brett's wife Naomi and her girlfriends. So when Brett said they want to name it, Dad, I'm like, it's fine with me. And if we can piggyback off all of the amenities of the Grace Village, not Grace Village, but Grace Ridge and Grace Hospital. I have many friends and families in those facilities, so, but I don't think it'll be a big issue as we get started, as we differentiate who we are.
We kicked around Riverbend. We kicked around a bunch of names, after we changed it from Grace Chapel Road over to Riverbend. But, we did an informal survey, and it was, I think about 8 out of 9 folks voted for that. So I said, okay, let's go that way. Keep my wife happy.
And notice the holding company name is Spartan Holdings. Brett wanted a flare in there for South Caldwell, so that's how we came up with Spartan Holdings.
Yeah, I went to West. My dad taught for many years down at South Caldwell, so I thought we'd be that side of the county. Let's tie it into.
I was at South under Brett's dad.
Yeah, well, I feel sorry for you. I've been under him for 57 years. So, any other questions? We'd love to.
Now, the certificate of need that you speak of, that accounts for the number of residents that you are technically, I guess, licensed for to begin up front.
Right.
So that number could change. You're guaranteed at least that number, but that could increase from.
I mean, it could change if the committee I'm on, if we determine that we think the population has shifted somewhat in Caldwell County, and we might award another 20 or 30 beds, you can darn sure bet we'll be applying for that CON to add those beds onto our building. But at that point in time, it's out there for anybody. Anybody and their brother can apply for that. But the nature of the business is, unless you start out with a sufficient number of beds initially, nobody's ever going to build a freestanding 20 or 30 bed facility. The only people going to apply for those are going to be people that are already in business. But I promise you, if beds would come available in the Caldwell area, everybody that's already operating a facility in Caldwell County would apply for those beds. I would be surprised if they would not.
Well, I'm excited because I have had lots of folks ask me, when are we going to start having places where older folks can downsize, where we can have continuous care, and it looks like we are well on our way to doing that. You're well on your way to doing that. This community is very supportive of all of our new businesses, and I'll tell you on their behalf, anything any of us can do to be helpful to you, we want to do that. We want to be helpful. Any last questions for these folks?
I don't have a question, I have a comment. The town of Grand Falls is very excited about this project. I reconnected with Brett as a 12-year-old playing in Lenore Little League many years ago. Brett was a 9-year-old and he got the pleasure of catching me, so I'm surprised that he went ahead with this project. I thought that would be, once he something new that I was involved with the town, but we are excited about the possibilities. We get questions every day from someone asking, when is this going to be ready? When is this going to be ready? A lot of focus on those patio homes. A lot of people interested in that. The Riverbend community has embraced this project. They're all supportive of it because they're looking at some point in the future of having to downsize, and they see this as a great option for them to not have to move out of the community. So, thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Keeping everybody close to family, and that's one of the most important things in our community, so this helps us do that. We are going to have groundbreaking for these folks. It's not scheduled exactly yet, but we've talked about it being September, October kind of time frame. The last time I was out there on that property, the turkeys showed up, the deer showed up, and the hawks were flying. So we may have a lot of wildlife out there, and probably a lot of these folks too.
Yeah.
So we thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
if you
Thanks
folks
for all
want
your
to come and look at these plans, you are welcome to do so. I do want to make one comment. Now, you all live in Hickory now, right? But we took your picture in front of this board over here. So we have these three Hickory guys standing in front of our board. I just want to know, make sure everybody knows that you're still Caldwell Joseph.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
We do. Okay, well, if there's nothing else, we'll move on with the last portions of our community part of the meeting. And these guys will be around here. We'll be done in about 5 minutes, and they can answer any questions that you have individually. So thank you, guys.
Thank you all very much.
Well, it was a great presentation. Thank you so much for being here, and look forward to seeing the project. I would be remiss if I didn't point out the great work that the EDC continues to do, whether it is diversification of industry, whether it is assisting with a project like this and growing retail. And Deborah, thank you as always for your great work. This is the point of the program where we ask for community comments. And so I'll ask anyone in the audience, it's so great to see all of you here today. Our success is due to a large degree because of the great work that we do together. And I hope that's something that we always have. So I'll ask anyone in the audience if they have a comment that they'd like to make. Certainly we usually hear from the town managers about things that are going on in their communities. So don't be shy. Anybody have comments? Jerry, I know you and
I'm bashful. I'll just give a brief update on the storm damage in Granite Falls. Fortunately, we're surrounded by water, but we don't flood. We had very little damage. We had no power outages other than a tree fell on the line and we had to kill the power to remove the tree. So we came out of the storm in very, very good shape, and we're very grateful for that.
I'll say that. Oh,
Go ahead.
I'll just say the same here for Lenore. We're drying out. All I can say.
Well, unfortunately, we lost a couple of streets in Hudson, so that's a big impact to a tiny budget. So we did declare a state of emergency in Hudson due to that infrastructure damage. But we are also drying out, and we didn't have many power outages. We had a few power outages, but that was quickly restored. And I'm very excited about Grace Village for Granite Falls. We all benefit from growth in Caldwell County, so I'm very excited about that.
Anybody else on this side? Deborah, have to comment on the hospital and the great growth that we're seeing there. So fortunate to have everything that the hospital is doing in our community.
And we'll be doing a big open house probably at the end of July, early August, to celebrate all of the renovations and the opening of the new Aquarium Surgery Center, which is a state-of-the-art surgery center.
Yes, and people really need to see that.
Everyone will be invited.
Great. Anybody else on this side? Okay, well, then we'll come to this side of the room. Dr. Porch?
Good morning. Probably the biggest news at the community college. Well, a couple of things. First of all, summer enrollment's up again, so that's good. We're up about 3.5% with our student enrollment for summer. We don't have nearly as many in the summer, about 1,300 or so students. One interesting thing, and I shared this at our city county meeting yesterday, our high school student enrollment for the summer has almost doubled. So those students can continue to take college classes while they're in high school, tuition free. So we continue to see those folks take advantage of that opportunity. The other big news is we're continuing to move forward on the Rite Aid building. We have secured that building with some earnest money, and we're working through the due diligence phase of that. And again, we plan on making that into an advanced manufacturing center. Hopefully we'll close sometime late July, early August on that facility, and then begin renovations. And we're really pushing, talking about architects, we're really pushing our architect to try to get things done. We would love to be in that building by January. That may be a little bit optimistic, but anyway, we're going to shoot for that and continue to move forward with that property. that entire corner right there at Pine Mountain and 321. So we just really look forward to having that as an addition to our campus.
Thank you. Anybody else? On these rows, before I call on Dr. Phipps, who is on the back row. Anybody else? Okay. Dr. Phipps.
We finished up school Friday for students. We had 3 graduations on Saturday. The first time in a long time that our board members didn't have to pick where to go on Friday night. They were able to attend all 3 of those. Proud to announce that of our graduating seniors, they've earned $21 million in scholarships this year. Today, we're honoring our retirees, and a noteworthy retiree, many of you know, is Dr. Carol Burns, retiring after 55 years plus service with sick days, 60.5 years of service. She's the longest serving employee in the North Carolina public schools in the entire state. So she's added a lot to what we've done, and we'll wish her well in her retirement. But thank you all for your continued support.
Thank you. Okay, last call for anybody else. If not, I will remind you of our next meeting, which is our annual meeting, Tuesday, July 9th at 8 o'clock here. And at that time, we will welcome back board members who are retiring, and we will also welcome new board members. Is there anything else before we adjourn? If not, thank you again. It's great to see all of you here today.